Okay, so starting off here, I'm using Petal Crafts medium high heel shoe former. So here I always make the heel part a few days before so it sets nice and hard. As you can see here, it's easier just to pick up and handle. So this shoe is made using a 50-50 mix of Saracino's modelling paste and flour paste. So here I've just added another little bit on the back of that heel, and I run a tool down there just to give it like a stitching effect. Now using the sole cutter, I cut out a large sole to add to the heel, which I stick together with edible glue. And then using that sole cutter, I cut out a platform for the front part of that shoe, just to raise it up a bit. Need a bit more edible glue. So now I'm just rolling out a piece of beige 50-50 mix again, and this time I'm using that sole cutter, but I'm actually going to use that as a guide to cut out a smaller sole to place on the top, so it looks like that kind of cushion that you get in the inside of a shoe. I then run around that with my stitching tool to give it a nice stitching effect. Now, I was meant to use this Marvellous Mould distressed leather before I stuck that on, but I forgot. But here I just push that on and it still has the same effect, so all's good. Now here I'm doing the back part of the heel on the shoe. So here, this is already, I've embossed this with a leather effect mat, which I got off Amazon. It was quite cheap. And I just fix that into place using edible glue. Play with it until I'm happy. And then using that same mat that I got off Amazon, I'm making what's going to be a little loop for the back part of the shoe. It will just stick on that heel, and you'll see why I do that in a little while. So again, choosing a bit of edible glue, and I stick that onto the back. And if you are interested, the colour of this is Eucalyptus Colour Meal. It's the first time I've used Colour Meal, and I really like it, so I've invested in some more. So here, like a crazy person, I did use the Leather Effect mat on this part of the front of the shoe, which I didn't need to because I ended up covering it in flowers, but you know, detail and all that. So here I'm just cutting it by eye. You can use little templates that do come with this particular set, but I had an idea in my head, so I was going rogue. And you can see I even make it a little bit too big on one side here, and I cut that down to make it fit. So just being creative, you could just go with the flow or use the templates. So once that's done, I leave that to dry and move on to what's going to be a little buckle for the side strap of the shoe. I'm just using a little piece of white modelling paste. So here now I'm just going to thread that little buckle part onto what looks like a strap for the shoe. And then I just stick that all together with a little bit of edible glue. And then you'll see now I've got some pre-made rings that I've done and let it air dry. And you see where the little gap is, that loops round the back of the loop that we done on the back of the shoe. So it makes it look like you can't see it because it's hidden by that little loop. And then stick the buckle and fake strap to the side, and you look like you've got yourself a little strappy shoe. Once I managed to get this little fiddly piece in place, I paint the little white bits in a silver lustre. So for anyone who may have watched my wafer paper flowers before, you've probably seen me do this before on another cake. But here I'm just making up some little wafer paper flowers, and I spray them with a mixture of glycerine, water and vodka, equal parts, and just until they're slightly wet, not too wet. Then I shape them, and then I'm putting them in this little tray, just helps them hold their shape while they dry. So once that's done, I use my airbrush and this little mixture of lilac lavender colour that I made up, and just airbrush them flowers. They're so delicate they kept flying off all over the place. And then I use a little bit of royal icing just to fix them onto the shoe. So just placing them where I want them. They don't dry instantly, so you can always move them if you're not happy. But yeah, I thought this was really effective and really easy to do. So once I'm happy with how that looks, I leave that to dry. So I made a pair of these high heels, which I teamed with a hand-painted handbag that I did, which this was my first ever entry to a Cake International, which was the virtual one they did online this year. And I got a merit, so I was really chuffed with that. Hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will speak to you all again soon.